stay silent and let karma destroy them. What if I told you that most of what keeps you up at night is powered by one thing, your reaction? Marcus Aurelius put it simply, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Imagine what would change if you stopped feeding chaos with your words, your explanations, your energy. Would you finally sleep? Would the noise die down? A few years ago, I got blindsided in a meeting. A colleague tossed a cheap shot at my work. Half true, fully public. My chest tightened. I could feel that burning urge to clap back, to defend every detail. But something in me paused. I breathed. I let the comment float past. I said nothing. After the meeting, 2 people pulled me aside and said, "That wasn't about you. That was about him." They saw what I didn't have to say. That's when I learned silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. Here's the frame for today. 7 Stoic truths about silence, the kind that gives you peace and power at the same time. We'll anchor each truth to a real scenario, a clear action, and a quote from Marcus, Seneca, or Epictetus. By the end, you'll have a system you can use tonight. And yes, one of these habits quietly rewired the way I handle conflict forever. I'll show you which one before we close.
First truth, control what's yours and drop the rest. Epictetus said, some things are in our control and others not. Your reaction is yours. Their story about you, not yours. Picture the text designed to bait you, a jab about your character, a revisionist version of last night's argument. The impulse is to explain, fix, argue, but explanation is often gasoline. Instead, try this. Read once, breathe twice, wait 24 hours. If it still needs a response, respond in one sentence about facts, not feelings. Most times, you'll find it didn't need a response at all. Is that avoidance? No, it's discipline. You're not ignoring reality. You're refusing to let someone else script your next move. Second truth, meaning creates emotion. Seneca wrote, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. You don't feel pain just because they spoke. You feel pain because of what you believe their words mean. They don't respect me. I look weak. Everyone will think they're right. But what if their attack means this instead? They're insecure. They need an audience. They're probing for your buttons. Reframe the meaning, and the feeling changes. Next time someone tries to provoke you, ask, what else could this mean besides the worst interpretation? Choose the meaning that keeps you in control. That's not denial. That's mental leadership. Third truth, private discipline becomes public power. You won't stay calm in the meeting if your mornings are chaos. You won't hold silence under pressure if your mind is noisy all day. Marcus wrote nightly to audit his own mind. You can do it in 5 lines. Tonight, write, what triggered me? What story did I tell? What was in my control? What will I do differently next time? Then close with one sentence of gratitude for something you handled well. Do that for 7 days and watch your impulse to fire back begin to fade. People will notice the difference before you do. Here's a twist most people miss. Silence isn't empty. It speaks. When you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop performing, it shifts the room. The loud person keeps talking, and the echo exposes them. The gossip starves without a reply. The manipulator loses the only leverage they had, your energy. Power doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it sits still and lets truth do the work. Try this on a small scale. Someone drops a snarky comment in a group chat. Instead of latching on, you respond later with a practical update on the project and no reference to the jab. Watch how quickly the tone resets. Or say you're in traffic and someone cuts you off, brake checks you, dares you to engage. Ask yourself, do I want to be right here or free? You can be a prisoner of a stranger for the next 10 minutes, or you can be home 10 minutes earlier.
What most people get wrong is thinking silence equals weakness. Weakness is being yanked around by every provocation. Strength is choosing your responses like a professional chooses his tools. You don't swing a sledgehammer at every nail. You don't take every fight. You take the fights that build something. Everything else, let it pass. Here are 3 moves you can start using today. 1. The one-breath pause. Before you answer a text, a comment, or a dig in a meeting, 1 slow breath, in through the nose, out longer than you inhaled. This buys your mind time to choose the frame. 2. The single-sentence rule. If you must respond, do it in 1 sentence that clarifies a fact or a boundary. No essays, no defenses, no apologetic tone. 3. The 24-hour mirror. Anything emotionally charged gets a calendar reminder for tomorrow. If it still matters, you'll be sharper. If not, you've saved yourself a mess. Let's ground this in a story. A client once told me his ex kept sending barbed texts, accusations, half-truths, bait. He replied paragraph for paragraph, each one making him look angrier and less credible. We moved to silence with structure. He replied only to logistics, pick-up times, decisions about the kids, yes-no answers. Everything else ignored. Within 2 weeks, the attack slowed. Within a month, they stopped. Why? Because there was no show to enjoy and no fuel to burn. He didn't win by defeating her. He won by refusing to play. How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it, Marcus reminds us. He learned to stop paying anger's interest.
You might be wondering, if I stay quiet, won't people think I'm guilty? Sometimes, for a moment, but the longer arc favors the calm. In the workplace, your consistency outlasts the gossip. With friends, your behavior speaks louder than your rebuttals. In relationships, your boundaries become the story. Silence isn't passive aggression. Silence is intentional non-participation in nonsense. There's a difference. Here's a value preview. There's 1 habit that permanently lowered my stress in conflict by half. It's simple, it's boring, and it works. I'll walk you through it later, step by step. First, let's add 2 more tools you can keep in your pocket. Tool 4, strategic absence. Stop attending the theater where you're the punchline. Leave the chat where you're baited. Decline the meeting that's performative, not productive. Your presence is a vote. Spend it on rooms that respect you. Tool 5, inner silence. Don't rehearse the argument you'll never have. When the mental movie starts, label it thinking and let it pass. Ruminating feels like control. It's really a leak. Seneca again, we are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. Close the theater in your head, and the show outside loses its audience.
If this is landing, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next lesson. Each week, we practice Stoic tools you can use the same day, especially when people push your buttons. It's free, and it keeps these ideas at the top of your mind when you need them most. Let's circle back to that idea of karma. I don't use it as a mystical scoreboard. I mean this. Reality eventually reveals what's true. Lies tangle. Manipulation overplays its hand. Cruelty gets obvious when it runs out of reaction to feed on. Your job isn't to speed that up. Your job is to stop subsidizing it. When you withdraw your energy, you let reality do its work. Test it this week. The next time someone tries to pull you into an emotional tug of war, drop the rope. 1 breath, 1 sentence if needed. One day of silence before any big response. Then watch what happens, not just out there, but in here. Notice the calm that returns when you choose not to perform. A quick check-in. Which one do you struggle with most? Pausing, being brief, or waiting a day? Drop 1, 2, or 3 in the comments. You'll see you're not alone, and you might pick up a tip from someone who's nailed the piece you're working on.
In a moment, we're going to build on this with a habit that quietly makes you unprovocable. The one I promised earlier. It's simple, repeatable, and boring in the best way. Before we go there, remember Epictetus's line. If you are ever tempted to look for outside approval, realize that you have compromised your integrity. You don't need their validation to choose your response. You need your standards. If you're finding this valuable, subscribe now so you don't miss what's next. In the next part, I'll reveal the habit that changed my conflict response for good and how to install it in under 10 minutes a day. Did you know that Seneca once warned, "He who angers you, conquers you"? Those words have survived for 2,000 years because they reveal something most men still fail to see today. Every reaction is a surrender of power. Think back to the last time someone disrespected you. Maybe a boss cutting you off in a meeting, a partner twisting your words, or a so-called friend spreading rumors behind your back. What did you do? Chances are you tried to defend yourself. You typed the long text. You explained your truth. You raised your voice. And yet, did it work? Or did it just leave you more exhausted while they walked away satisfied that they could push your buttons?
This is the trap of reaction. It feels like strength, but in reality it's dependency. You depend on their recognition to feel whole, and that dependency is exactly what they feed on. Silence, on the other hand, is withdrawal of the drug they crave most, your energy. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." Imagine carrying that mindset into your daily life. A colleague mocks your presentation. Instead of firing back, you simply look at them with calm eyes and return to your point. That icy stillness unsettles them more than any clever comeback. Because silence is not absence, it's presence, it's power contained. Here's what most people get wrong. They believe silence means weakness, retreat, or surrender. But ask yourself, who's stronger? The man who explodes when provoked, or the man who remains still, unshaken, impossible to move? The first is predictable. The second is untouchable. Picture this. A manipulative ex sends you a late-night message dripping with arrogance. Guess you were never good enough. The old you would type back paragraphs, defending, proving, trying to wound them in return. But the Stoic version of you reads it, breathes, then sets the phone down. No reply. That silence is a verdict more crushing than any words. They expected a war, you gave them a wall. And that wall is impenetrable.
Now, let's bring this closer to daily life. Have you ever noticed how arguments on social media spiral endlessly? One comment, then a reply, then another reply, until hours vanish. But imagine choosing not to answer. Imagine leaving the comment hanging in space, unanswered. Suddenly, the aggressor looks like they're shouting into a void. Your silence exposes their insecurity more than any witty reply ever could. But here's the twist. Silence is not just external. It's also internal. How many times have you replayed an argument in your head, long after it ended? You lie awake imagining the perfect comeback. You rehearse speeches you'll never give. That mental noise is as destructive as spoken words. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And reaction includes the storms inside your mind. So the first discipline is outer silence, withholding words. The second, deeper discipline is inner silence, withholding obsession. When the thought comes, I should have said this, I should have done that, let it pass. Don't wrestle with it. Let silence swallow it. This is where true strength is forged.
Let's make it practical. Next time someone provokes you, do this. First, pause. Feel your body. Notice your breath. Second, name the urge. Say to yourself quietly, "This is the trap." Third, choose silence, externally and internally. No reply, no mental replay. Simple? Yes. Easy? No. But discipline never is. And yet, each time you practice, you grow stronger. Each time you resist, you reclaim energy you used to waste. Imagine your life after a year of mastering this. No more sleepless nights rehearsing arguments. No more wasted energy chasing explanations. No more humiliating outbursts in meetings or at home. Instead, calm, authority, presence. People will notice. They'll see a man impossible to provoke, impossible to drag into the mud, and that reputation is priceless. Let me share a story. A client of mine once worked under a manager who loved public humiliation. In meetings, this manager would throw jabs. "Did you even prepare?" Or, "That's the best you can do?" The old version of him would argue, defend, and leave the room drained. But after practicing Stoic silence, he shifted. The next time it happened, he didn't flinch. He simply looked at the manager, gave a faint nod, and continued. No anger, no defense, just calm. Within weeks, the manager stopped. Why? Because without reaction, the game collapsed. The abuser lost his stage. Silence exposed his insecurity. And here's the payoff. That same discipline saved my client at home. His partner once tried to bait him into a late-night fight. Instead of escalating, he breathed, stayed silent, and went to bed. The next morning, calm and clear, he spoke only about solutions, not accusations. The relationship survived because he chose silence in the heat, then words in the calm. That's mastery. Now, some of you might be thinking, but if I stay silent, won't people think I'm weak? Let me answer with another question. Who would you rather follow? A man who shouts at every insult, or a man who stays composed under fire? Exactly. Respect flows toward the calm, not the chaotic. But don't just take my word for it. Studies in modern psychology show that people who respond with calm silence in conflict are perceived as more powerful and trustworthy than those who lash out. Your silence doesn't shrink you, it expands you. It signals that you are above the chaos. Here's what I want you to try this week. Choose one situation where you'd normally react, maybe a snide remark at work, a passive-aggressive text, or even just traffic cutting you off. Instead of reacting, stay silent. Let the silence do the work. Write down how it felt. Notice the shift in energy. Over time, you'll see that silence is not emptiness, it's dominance. If this resonates with you, subscribe now. Because in the next section, I'll reveal the Stoic habit that changed my own life forever. The habit that turns silence from a tactic into a way of being. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. So, the next time someone tries to drag you into their storm, remember, silence is not retreat. Silence is your battlefield. And karma, quiet but merciless, fights for you when you step aside. Epictetus once said, "Any person capable of angering you becomes your master." He can anger you only when you permit yourself to be disturbed by him. That's the heart of this lesson. Silence isn't just about withholding words. It's about refusing to give away your dignity.
Think about the last time someone betrayed you. Maybe it was a partner who lied, a colleague who mocked you, or a friend who twisted your trust. Your first instinct? To respond, to defend, to fight for your side of the story. But here's the brutal truth. Every word you give them becomes a rope they use to pull you deeper into their chaos. I'll tell you a story. A man I coached once discovered that a close friend had been gossiping about him, spreading half-truths and lies that made him look weak. His first reaction was rage. He wrote long messages, planned confrontations, and even rehearsed shouting matches in the mirror. But after reflecting on Stoic wisdom, he chose silence. He stopped returning calls. He stopped defending himself. He let the gossip echo without fuel. And you know what happened? The rumor died. People began to notice the friend's bitterness, not his silence. And slowly, the betrayer became exposed, not because he fought, but because he refused to play.
Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, if someone can prove me wrong, show me I'm mistaken, I'll gladly change, for I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone. That's the key. If criticism is fair, learn from it. If it's unfair, silence is the answer. Because lies collapse without your effort. Now here's what most men get wrong. They believe chasing closure will set them free. They think, if I can just explain my side, if I can just make them see, I'll finally have peace. But closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you. The more you chase, the deeper you bleed. Picture it. Your ex cheats, then leaves the door half open, waiting for you to crawl back with explanations. And too often, you do. You send the long messages, you beg to be understood, you replay arguments for weeks. But every step you take toward them is a step away from yourself. Silence, on the other hand, is the slam of a door that cannot reopen. It's not revenge, it's release. Let's bring this into a workplace example. A colleague humiliates you during a meeting. You go home stewing, rehearsing what you should have said. You tell yourself, next time I'll prove my worth. But here's the paradox. The more you obsess, the more they live rent-free in your head. They own you without even trying. Instead, imagine this. The next time they throw a jab, you pause, you breathe, you respond with nothing but composure. Their words hang in the air, awkward and heavy, while you remain unbothered. Who looks small then? Not you. Here's your exercise. This week, when you feel the urge to explain yourself to someone who doesn't deserve it, don't. Instead, write the words down privately. Then, burn the paper or delete the note. Release the need to be heard by them. Let silence speak for you. But silence doesn't just dismantle manipulation, it terrifies manipulators. Why? Because they thrive on your reaction. They need your energy like a parasite needs a host. When you withdraw, they starve. Your silence is not emptiness, it's withdrawal of oxygen. And without oxygen, their fire dies. I know what some of you are thinking, but if I say nothing, won't people think I'm guilty? Let me challenge that. Think of a courtroom. The guilty shout, protest, and scramble to defend themselves. The innocent stand calm, confident that truth will surface. Which one earns respect? Which one radiates strength? Seneca wrote, "Silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings." It's not easy. Your conditioning screams at you to react. Your pride insists on defending itself. But every time you choose silence, you're sharpening a weapon no one can see, and yet everyone can feel. So let me leave you with this drill. The next time someone sends you a manipulative message, don't answer. Let it rot in your inbox. The next time someone mocks you in public, don't defend. Stay calm. Let their words echo into awkward silence. The next time someone who betrayed you comes crawling back with half-hearted excuses, don't reopen the door. Stay quiet, stay absent, stay strong. Because silence is not weakness. Silence is sovereignty. And the moment you master it, you'll see how quickly karma begins to do the work you once wasted energy trying to do yourself. If this lesson landed with you, subscribe now so you don't miss what comes next. Because in the next part, I'll share the Stoic secret that turns silence into not just a weapon, but a lifelong shield, one that makes you untouchable in any situation. Stay with me, because the shift you'll discover next might be the one that changes how you carry yourself for the rest of your life. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Let that sink in, because every time you lash out, every time you explain, every time you beg to be understood, you are becoming exactly like the person who tried to hurt you. And that's why silence is the sharpest weapon. It refuses to let you become what you despise. I want you to picture this scene. A manipulative colleague mocks you in front of the team. Everyone looks at you, waiting for the comeback. But instead of exploding, you simply look at him, calm and composed, and continue your work. In that moment, his entire performance collapses. He was counting on your outburst to fuel the show, but you gave him nothing. That silence, that's power. And everyone in the room feels it. Here's what most people don't understand. Silence doesn't just protect you, it exposes them. When you stop defending, they have nothing to twist. When you stop arguing, they have nothing to amplify. When you stop explaining, they have no rope to hang you with. Their ugliness echoes in the silence. Their insecurity shines under the spotlight they built for themselves.
Think about it like this. Gossip only survives when you chase it. The more you run after it, the more people believe it. But when you don't even acknowledge it, the rumor starves. The liar looks foolish shouting into the void while you rise above untouched. Seneca said, "It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable." Silence is how you train that power. You refuse to let others conquer you by provoking you. You refuse to let them pull you into wars designed for you to lose. Instead, you master yourself, and that mastery terrifies them. Let me give you a real-life example. A man once told me about his divorce. His ex spread lies, poisoned friends against him, and expected him to fight back. At first he did. He sent messages, defended his name, tried to prove the truth. But the more he fought, the smaller he looked. Then he stopped. No messages, no defense, no reaction. Within months, the lies collapsed under their own weight. People saw through her bitterness, and his silence made him look stronger than any speech ever could. Here's a drill you can try today. The next time someone disrespects you, don't reply immediately. Wait. Give it a day. Ask yourself, does this even deserve my energy? Most of the time, you'll realize it doesn't. And by staying silent, you win without lifting a finger.
But here's the twist. Silence is not only about others. It's about you. How many times have you sat awake at night, replaying the argument, writing the perfect comeback in your head? That's not silence. That's noise inside your own mind. The Stoics knew this too. Epictetus taught, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. Your inner silence, your ability to stop replaying, stop obsessing, is what frees you. So the next time you catch yourself rehearsing an argument in your mind, pause. Say to yourself, this is noise. This is not mine to carry. Then breathe, let the thought drift away. That inner silence is what makes the outer silence possible. Now let's talk about why silence cuts so deep. When you react, you give them proof that they still matter to you. Your anger, your defense, your words, it all tells them they still control your emotions. But when you stay silent, you deliver the harshest message of all. You no longer matter. That realization hits harder than any insult you could throw. I'll give you another example.
A woman betrayed a man I know. She expected anger, tears, desperate messages. But he gave her nothing. Not a word, not a glance, just silence. At first, she told herself he was just hurt. Then she told herself he'd come back. Then came the truth. He didn't care anymore. That silence broke her more brutally than rage ever could. This is why silence is terrifying. It forces the guilty to sit with themselves. It leaves them alone with their lies, their betrayal, their manipulation. And karma uses their own conscience as the blade.
So here's your challenge. The next time someone wrongs you, don't waste breath trying to teach them a lesson. Don't try to explain your worth. Don't demand closure. Just walk away in silence. Let karma be the teacher they cannot ignore. If this lesson resonates, consider subscribing. Because in the next part, I'll reveal how silence doesn't just protect you, it transforms how the world sees you. Your reputation changes, your presence grows heavier, and suddenly people treat you with a respect you never had before. That's the quiet power of Stoic silence, and it's what we'll explore next. Stay with me, because the shift you're about to hear may be the most important one yet. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In the same way, waste no more time arguing what your worth is. Show it in silence. Here's the transformation most people never see coming. Silence doesn't just protect your energy, it rewrites how the world perceives you. Think about it. The colleague who once mocked you? When you stop reacting, his cruelty no longer looks entertaining, it looks insecure. The friend who spread rumors? When you don't defend yourself, people start noticing that the noise is all coming from one side. The partner who betrayed you? When you give them no tears, no messages, no second chances, they realize they never held the power they thought they did.
This is the external consequence of silence. The world sees you differently. You stop being the victim and start being the authority. Let me paint a picture. A man I once knew was notorious for snapping back. At work, every insult set him off. At home, every disagreement turned into a fight. People respected his passion, but they also feared his volatility. Then, one year, after studying Stoicism, he decided to stop. He trained himself to remain silent in conflict. Slowly, people noticed. The office bullies stopped targeting him. His family began to see him as a rock, not a storm. Within months, his entire reputation shifted from hothead to leader. He didn't give speeches, he didn't demand respect. His silence earned it. Here's the paradox. The less you talk in moments of chaos, the more people listen when you finally do speak. Silence gives weight to your words. Noise cheapens them. Seneca put it perfectly. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Apply that to attention. The one who craves attention reacts to everything, always explaining, always defending. The one who doesn't crave attention stays silent and paradoxically earns more of it. Think about your own life. Who are the men you respect most? Is it the one always shouting, always proving, always fighting to be heard? Or is it the one who speaks little but carries presence? You already know the answer.
Here's a simple drill. In your next heated conversation, cut your words in half. Say less. Listen more. And when you feel the urge to prove yourself, replace it with silence. Watch how the dynamic shifts. People lean in. They adjust around you. Your calm becomes the center of the room. But silence doesn't just change how others see you. It changes how you see yourself. When you stop reacting, you stop being a puppet. You stop dancing to other people's strings. You begin to feel sovereign in your own life. That self-respect radiates outward.
Let me give you a personal story. Years ago, I was in a situation where someone close to me tried to bait me into endless fights. Every insult demanded a reaction. Every lie demanded correction. And for months, I gave them exactly what they wanted. Until one day, I stopped. I decided to let silence answer for me. At first, it felt unbearable, like I was losing. But slowly, I realized something. I was freer. I slept better. I thought clearer. And people around me noticed. They started saying, "You seem different, stronger, calmer." That was the moment I knew. Silence had rewritten not just my reputation, but my identity. Now, let's address a question you might be asking. What if silence makes me look cold? The truth is, only the insecure will call it cold. The strong will recognize it as control. People who benefit from your chaos will accuse you of arrogance when you stop playing their game. But deep down, they know your silence is strength.
Modern psychology backs this up. Research shows that individuals who maintain calm silence in conflict are perceived as higher status and more respected than those who lash out. Silence signals mastery of self, and mastery of self always commands respect. So here's your challenge. Practice strategic silence in 3 areas this week. First, at work, when someone provokes you, don't bite. Second, in relationships, when baited, stay calm and speak only when you're ready. Third, in your own head, when replaying arguments, cut them off and choose mental silence instead. Each time you do, you're building a new reputation, not just in the eyes of others, but in your own. A man who cannot be provoked is a man who cannot be controlled. This is the external power of Stoic silence. But stay with me, because in the next section, we'll go even deeper. I'll reveal how silence doesn't just shift perception, it becomes a permanent shield, your invisible armor against manipulation, betrayal, and disrespect. Once you understand this, you'll realize that silence is not just a tactic, it's a way of life. Don't miss it, because what comes next could be the final step to making yourself untouchable. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That's the essence of what silence truly is. Control of your own mind, no matter what storm rages around you.
Up to now, we've seen how silence protects you and reshapes how others see you. But here's the next step. Silence becomes a shield, an invisible armor you carry everywhere. Once you master it, no insult, no betrayal, no manipulation can pierce you. Let's picture this. Someone insults you in a meeting. The words are sharp, designed to wound. Everyone expects you to lash back, but you don't. You remain calm. You let the insult fall flat. That silence is your armor. The words cannot reach you because you chose not to let them in. And everyone watching sees the difference. You're not just a man who avoided conflict. You're a man no one can rattle. This is what Epictetus meant when he said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The insult is the event. The silence is your shield. And the shield makes you untouchable. Think about sports. The best fighters don't respond to every feint, every fake. They conserve energy, staying calm, waiting for the real strike. In the same way, silence is your defense against the endless feints life throws at you, provocations, gossip, betrayals. You don't swing at shadows. You wait. you watch. And in waiting, you stay undefeated.
Here's the beauty. Once people know you can't be provoked, they stop trying. The manipulator realizes his tricks no longer work. The gossip sees their words bounce off your shield. The betrayer understands there's no way back in. Your silence becomes not just a momentary choice, but a permanent reputation. The man who cannot be shaken. Now, let me share a story. A man I once knew had a father who always tried to dominate family dinners with insults. For years, the son fought back, arguing, defending, shouting across the table. It never changed anything. In fact, it only made the father stronger. Until one year, the son stopped. When the insults came, he stayed silent. He smiled, continued eating, and let the words vanish into the air. Slowly, the dynamic shifted. The father grew frustrated, then embarrassed. The power was gone. Silence had built an armor that no insult could penetrate. Here's the drill. The next time someone insults you, don't defend. Don't argue. Don't even explain. Simply look at them with calm eyes, maybe even smile faintly, then move on. That silence is your shield. That silence is your proof that you are beyond their reach. But let's go deeper. Silence isn't just an external armor, it's also an internal one. Because sometimes the harshest enemy isn't out there, it's inside your head. How many times have you let your own thoughts torture you? The late-night arguments you replay, the comebacks you imagine, the shame you rehearse. All of that is noise inside your mind. And that noise is just as dangerous as the insults outside.
The Stoics practiced what they called the discipline of assent. It means refusing to let every thought control you. A thought arises, I should have defended myself, or they made me look weak, and you say to that thought, no, you don't control me. You choose silence, even with your own mind. That's the deepest armor. Seneca wrote, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Most of the pain you feel isn't from what they said or did. It's from the replay in your head. Silence that inner replay, and suddenly the pain shrinks. The insult is just words. The betrayal is just an event. It has no power unless you keep feeding it. Here's another practical step. When a thought starts looping in your head, an argument, a betrayal, a rumor, pause and label it. Say, this is just noise. Then breathe and let it drift away. Don't fight it, don't argue with it, just let silence swallow it. The more you practice, the stronger your inner shield becomes. Now here's the paradox. When you build this shield, people start to feel it. Even when you're not speaking, your silence radiates authority. They sense that you are not easily moved. That calm presence makes others hesitate before crossing your boundaries. Your silence becomes your reputation, and your reputation becomes protection.
But I'll be honest, this won't make you popular with everyone. Some people will call you cold. Others will say you're arrogant. Why? Because they can no longer control you. They can no longer feed on your reactions. But deep down, they know the truth. Your silence is strength. So here's your challenge for this week. Choose one area of your life where you often get provoked. Maybe at work, maybe at home, maybe even online. Decide now that the next time it happens, you will stay silent. You will wear your silence like armor. And afterward, notice the shift. Notice how powerless the provoker feels.
Notice how powerful you feel. This is silence as a shield. And once you master it, you'll realize something profound. You don't need revenge. You don't need explanations. You don't even need recognition. Because the man who cannot be provoked is already undefeated. Stay with me, because in the next part I'll show you how silence doesn't just protect you or shield you, it transforms into a weapon that dismantles your enemies without you lifting a finger. You won't want to miss it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best answer to anger is silence." At first glance, that might sound poetic, maybe even passive. But in reality, silence is not just defense. It's offense. It's a weapon sharper than any words you could throw. Let's be clear. Silence doesn't just protect you. It dismantles the other side. When someone attacks you, they're expecting a fight. They're rehearsing it in their mind. They want your energy, your anger, your proof that they still matter. But when you give them nothing, you don't just deny them fuel, you flip the weapon back onto them. Their attack falls flat, and the silence becomes their mirror. Here's what most people miss. Silence forces the guilty to face themselves. The liar starts tripping over their own contradictions because you gave them no counter-argument to twist. The manipulator runs out of tricks because you refuse to play. The betrayer begins to choke on guilt because you stopped giving them attention. Karma doesn't need your help. It uses their own conscience as the blade. I'll give you an example. A man once told me about his ex who cheated on him. She expected rage, tears, and desperate calls. Instead, he gave her silence. At first, she told herself he was just hurt. Then she told herself he'd come back. But weeks passed. The silence didn't break. And finally, the realization hit her. He didn't care anymore. That silence crushed her far more than any angry confrontation ever could. This is why silence terrifies manipulators. They thrive on your reaction. Your energy is their oxygen. When you cut it off, they suffocate. Silence is starvation. Silence is exile. Silence is execution without lifting a finger.
Seneca warned, "He who is quick to anger will be quick to fall." Reaction is their trap. They want you swinging wildly, wasting your energy. But silence? Silence is discipline. Silence is strategy. Silence is how you let them collapse under the weight of their own actions. Here's the drill. The next time someone provokes you, imagine yourself as a wall. Their words hit, but they don't enter. You don't argue. You don't defend. You just stay still. Let them throw insult after insult. Each one bounces off, echoing back to them. The silence becomes unbearable. They begin to unravel, not you. But let's go even deeper. Silence doesn't just dismantle enemies in front of you. It dismantles enemies behind your back. Think about gossip. It spreads because you chase it. You try to correct it. You run around defending yourself. But when you say nothing, when you move calmly and continue with dignity, the rumor dies. People see that the noise is only on one side, and that one-sided noise reveals the truth. I'll share a workplace story. A man was accused of incompetence by a jealous colleague. Instead of fighting, he stayed silent. He kept doing his job with excellence. Within months, the gossip collapsed. Everyone saw who the real problem was. His silence exposed the other man without a single word.
Now, let me ask you, have you ever noticed how the loudest people are often the weakest? They need noise to hide their insecurity.
But the quiet man, the one who doesn't flinch, doesn't argue, doesn't defend, he radiates strength. That's the paradox of silence. It looks like nothing, but it does everything. Modern psychology confirms this. Studies show that when people face silence instead of a reaction, they become deeply uncomfortable. They start questioning themselves. They fill the space with their own insecurity. Your silence forces them to wrestle with themselves. And that fight is one they cannot win. So here's your challenge. Practice offensive silence. The next time someone tries to bait you, instead of thinking, I need to defend myself, think, I'm going to let my silence dismantle them. Hold the pause. Hold the stillness. Watch them collapse under the weight of their own noise. And here's the payoff. Silence isn't just a weapon against others. It's also a weapon against your own ego. Because deep down, your ego wants to clap back. It wants to prove, to defend, to win. But every time you resist, you kill the ego a little more. And that makes you stronger than any enemy outside. Epictetus taught, no man is free who is not master of himself. Silence is how you master yourself. And self-mastery is the greatest weapon of all. So, remember this. Silence is not retreat. Silence is attack without noise. Silence is karma sharpening its blade behind the scenes. And the moment you master it, you'll never again waste energy trying to fight battles designed to make you lose. If this lesson hit home, subscribe now, because in the next part, I'll show you how silence doesn't just dismantle enemies, it transforms into absence, a presence so heavy that it rewrites every relationship in your life. Don't miss it.
Stay with me, because what comes next will reveal why absence is the loudest voice you'll ever have. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The silence of a man of virtue always has more weight than the speeches of the ignorant." And that brings us to the next truth. Silence doesn't just dismantle, it transforms into absence, and that absence has a weight heavier than any noise. Think about it. When someone you trusted betrays you, they expect your anger. They expect the tears, the explanations, the endless cycle of arguments. But when you vanish, when your silence becomes absence, suddenly the room feels colder. The void you leave behind speaks louder than any speech you could deliver. This is the power of withdrawal. It's not about slamming doors or dramatic exits. It's about the quiet decision never to return. That decision unsettles people more than rage ever could, because rage still means you care. Absence means you don't. Let me tell you a story. A man once poured years of loyalty into friends who never valued him. They used him for support, mocked him behind his back, and expected him to stay. And for years he did, arguing, defending, trying to fix things. But one day he stopped. He left the group silently. No explanations, no accusations, just absence. Months later, the same friends who mocked him were whispering about how much they missed his presence. His silence had rewritten his value in their eyes. Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you self can improve." Absence is how you enforce that law. You don't chase, you don't beg, you withdraw from circles that poison you, and your absence forces them to taste the emptiness they created. Here's the paradox. They thought your forgiveness was infinite. They thought your patience was weakness. They assumed you would always return. But when your silence becomes absence, they learn the most brutal truth. You were the anchor, and without you, they drift.
Now, let's bring this to the workplace. Imagine a boss who constantly disrespects your ideas. You've argued, defended, begged for recognition, and nothing changes. But one day, you stop arguing. You stop explaining. You simply disengage. You do your work with quiet excellence. You don't chase their validation. And soon, they notice the absence, not because you left the company, but because you withdrew your energy. That absence speaks louder than confrontation. Here's your drill. Identify one place where your energy is wasted. Maybe a toxic friendship, a disrespectful colleague, or even endless arguments online. Then practice absence. Don't announce it, don't explain it. Simply withdraw. Watch how the silence of your absence rearranges the space. Modern psychology calls this extinction. Behaviors that aren't reinforced eventually die out. When you stop reacting, when you stop feeding the dynamic, the game collapses. Your absence kills their control. But absence doesn't only change how others behave, it changes how you live. Because when you stop giving your energy to the wrong people, you finally have energy for the right things, your growth, your peace, your family, your purpose. Absence is not just punishment, it's freedom. And here's the irony. The same people who once disrespected you will feel haunted by your absence. They'll replay the times you were there, the loyalty you gave, the support you offered. And slowly, regret eats at them. Not because you cursed them, but because you left them alone with themselves. That's karma at work.
Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Sometimes your silence, your absence will be misunderstood. People will accuse you of being arrogant, cold, or cowardly. Let them. The truth is, absence is strength. Walking away requires more courage than staying chained to disrespect. So here's your challenge. This week, ask yourself, where am I showing up that doesn't deserve me? Where am I explaining myself to deaf ears? Where am I wasting words on people who only twist them? Then decide, I will withdraw. I will let absence speak. I will let silence carry the weight. Because here's the brutal truth. Absence is not emptiness. Absence is judgment. Absence is karma in motion. And the absence of your presence is the loudest statement you can ever make. If this lesson spoke to you, subscribe now. Because in the next part, I'll take this even further. I'll show you how silence and absence, practiced consistently, transform into identity. You stop using silence as a tactic and start living it as who you are. That's when you become truly untouchable. Stay with me, because what's coming next is the consolidation of everything we've built so far. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look." Silence, when practiced long enough, stops being just a tactic. It becomes your very identity.
Up until now, we've explored silence as protection, as shield, as weapon, as absence. But here's the final evolution. Silence becomes who you are. It's no longer something you do in moments of conflict. It's the way you move through life. Think about the man you were before, always explaining, always defending, always chasing closure. That version of you was fragile. You lived at the mercy of others' actions, their opinions, their betrayals. Every word they spoke had the power to pierce you. Every rumor could shake you. Every insult demanded your energy. You were like a puppet dancing on strings you couldn't even see. But the moment you embraced silence, the transformation began.
At first, it felt strange, even unbearable. Holding back your words felt like weakness. But slowly you realized it was strength. You began to notice how people treated you differently. You began to notice how your own mind grew calmer. And over time, silence stopped being a choice. It became your natural state. Epictetus taught, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Mastery of self is the ultimate goal of Stoicism, and silence is the practice that gets you there. Because when you no longer need to prove, to explain, to fight, you are finally free. Here's the paradox. The quieter you become, the more powerful you are. The man who reacts to every provocation is predictable. The man who stays silent is a mystery. And mystery is power.
Let me give you a story. A man I knew was constantly dragged into workplace politics. Every slight, every rumor, every backhanded comment pulled him into hours of arguing. Until one day, he decided to stop. He gave no explanations, no counterattacks. He simply worked with quiet excellence. Within a year, something incredible happened. The same colleagues who once mocked him began to respect him. His boss saw him as steady, unshakable. He hadn't just used silence as a tactic, he had become the calm presence everyone trusted. Seneca once said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Every insult, every betrayal, every provocation is friction. Your silence in the face of them is what polishes you. It's what turns you into a man others look at and say, "He cannot be moved." Now, let's make this practical. Here are 3 ways to live silence as identity. First, slow your speech. Even in daily conversation, don't rush to fill silence. Let pauses linger. People will lean in. Your words will carry more weight. Second, practice presence. Put your phone down. Look people in the eye. When you choose silence in a conversation, let it be filled with attention, not distraction. Third, cultivate inner silence. Each morning, take 5 minutes to sit quietly. No phone, no noise, just breath. Train your mind to be comfortable in stillness, because if you can master silence alone, you can master silence anywhere.
Over time, you'll notice something strange. People start to speak differently around you. They measure their words more carefully. They treat your silence as authority. And without ever demanding it, you begin to command respect. But here's the deeper truth. Silence as identity isn't about how others see you. It's about how you see yourself. You begin to carry yourself as sovereign. You stop looking outward for validation. You stop chasing recognition. You realize that your dignity was never theirs to give. It was always yours to claim. This is when silence stops being effort and starts being freedom. The weight you once carried, the replayed arguments, the wasted explanations, the sleepless nights, falls away. You walk lighter. You breathe easier. You live freer. So here's your challenge. This week, don't just practice silence in conflict. Practice it in life. Let pauses sit in your conversations. Choose stillness instead of noise. And each time you do, remind yourself, silence is not emptiness. Silence is presence. Silence is power.
If this resonates, subscribe now. Because in the final part, I'll bring everything together. I'll show you how silence, once mastered, becomes not just protection, not just identity, but sovereignty. It becomes the crown you wear, the empire you rule, the victory no one can ever take from you. Stay with me,
because the last part may be the most powerful truth you've ever heard. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." And that is the crown of silence. Because when you stop reacting, when you stop feeding their fire, you stop being like them. You rise above. Silence, at its highest level, is sovereignty. It is the proof that you belong to yourself, not to the chaos around you. It is the crown you wear, invisible yet undeniable. And once you reach this point, you no longer need to use silence. You live inside it. Think about the old you. Every betrayal shook you. Every insult demanded a reply. Every rumor consumed your energy. You lived as if your worth depended on their recognition. But the man you are becoming now, he no longer plays that game. He doesn't waste his voice on the undeserving. He doesn't chase respect from those incapable of giving it. He stands calm, steady, unshakable.
Epictetus wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." That's what silence does. It revokes the power of the external. It tells the world, "You do not control me." Here's the genius of it. Silence not only destroys your enemies, it saves you. It saves your energy. It saves your peace. It saves your dignity. And that is the ultimate victory. Not that they suffer, but that you are free. Let me tell you one last story. A man once went through a brutal betrayal. His partner left him, spreading lies that cut deep. He wanted to fight back. He wanted to expose the truth. But instead, he chose silence. At first, people believed the lies. At first, it seemed he had lost. But over time, the truth surfaced on its own. His silence became dignity. And the same people who once doubted him began to respect him even more. The betrayer, on the other hand, collapsed under the weight of her own words. Karma did its work. He never lifted a finger. This is sovereignty, the ability to watch storms rage around you and remain untouched. The ability to let others exhaust themselves in noise while you stand calm in silence. The ability to live free from the chains of reaction.
Seneca reminds us, "He who is brave is free." And bravery is not shouting back. It is not proving yourself to the unworthy. Bravery is restraint. Bravery is silence. Bravery is sovereignty. Here's your action plan. From this day forward, whenever you are provoked, pause. Breathe. Remind yourself, silence is my crown. When someone betrays you, do not chase, do not explain. Withdraw. Let absence speak. When gossip spreads, do not fight it. Let silence reveal the truth over time. And most importantly, practice inner silence. Each morning, sit in stillness. Train your mind to remain calm no matter the storm. Soon, you'll notice the shift. The same people who once disrespected you will hesitate before crossing you. The same ones who mocked you will lower their voices. Your silence will rewrite your reputation. But more than that, it will rewrite your life. Because the one who controls himself cannot be controlled by anyone. This is the ultimate Stoic lesson. You do not need revenge. You do not need recognition. You do not need to win arguments. Silence already gave you all of it. Silence already crowned you. Silence already made you untouchable. So the next time someone provokes you, remember, your silence is the storm they cannot escape. The next time someone betrays you, remember, your silence is the mirror that reveals their guilt. And the next time someone tries to drag you into chaos, remember, you already won by refusing to play.
This is sovereignty. This is mastery. This is the Stoic way. If this series has given you strength, subscribe now and join this community.
because every week we dive deeper into strategies that make you unshakable. And if you're ready for the next step, if you want to go beyond what I can share here, become a member today. Twice a week, I release exclusive lessons for men walking the same path of resilience and power. Your silence is your crown. Karma is your executioner. And from this day forward, you are untouchable.